Thank you for joining us today for our spring Read Alberta Book Blast. I'm Megan Bishop. I'm the Executive Director of the Book Publishers Association of Alberta, and we're really excited to be organizing this event for you. So before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional homeland of the many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people whose elders have walked this land before us, and those persons with whom we share this great land with today. We are grateful to work and live upon this territory together and for the means to learn from all of the traditional peoples of these lands. It is our commitment to all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people that we will continue to work together to build strong and positive relationships and to consider how we can bring our resources and talents within the book publishing industry to the important work at hand during this era of reconciliation. And I encourage you to add your own land acknowledgement to the chat. So a bit of housekeeping before we get started. There is captioning available through Zoom, which can be enabled by clicking More on the bottom menu and then Captions. You're welcome to keep your camera on, and we encourage it, but we ask that you please leave your mic off unless you are presenting. And if you're able to, please update your display name to include your name, organization, and pronouns. So as you probably noticed when you joined this session, it is being recorded and the session will be available to those unable to participate today, and we'll share that link with all of you as well. And if you have any questions, please add them to the chat and we'll get to them during the Q&A after all of the presentations have completed. So today we're going to be hearing from 8 Alberta book publishers about their latest and upcoming titles. I know I'm very excited to hear what's happening and what's coming up. So we're looking forward to that. And you've also been supplied with a link to a Catalyst catalog, which has further information about all of the titles we're talking about today, as well as ordering details. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it along to Karen from the Athabasca University Press to get us started.
Hi, everyone. Just had to make sure I was unmuted. I'm Karen Whistling, Production and Promotions Coordinator at Athabasca University Press. In case you're not familiar, AU Press is a scholarly press affiliated with Athabasca University, and most of our staff are actually in Edmonton or Calgary, and I see some EPL people in here, so hi. We publish in the areas of labor history, Indigenous studies, political science, and sociology, and we have a really great trade list as well that includes memoir, poetry, and some more experimental forms of nonfiction. Today I have 2 fascinating books for you, and they're more on the scholarly side, but I would say that the subject matter and the writing style makes them both very accessible to general readers. So we'll go to the first slide here. So the first book is Anxiety as a Weapon. This book pushes back on the idea that anxiety is a private weakness or something that you're supposed to fix on your own, so very timely. It argues that a lot of what we call anxiety is a reasonable response to the pressure, uncertainty, and exhaustion of modern life. Instead of blaming individuals, the author, A.T. King-Smith, asks what's happening in the world around us, at work, in the economy, in politics, and in our communities. And he shows how anxiety is a very isolating force, but how naming the bigger causes can help us find connection, build support, and work toward real change together. It's not a self-help book, but it does have lots of actionable items in it. Next slide, please. So the next book actually ties in really well to a fun event that is happening in Edmonton in September. The North American Wikimedia Conference is coming to our city, which is really exciting. It'll be September 25th to 27th. So Alberta will become this hub for a conversation about open knowledge. And I have a couple of facts about Wikipedia that I recently learned through this book and also through a course that I'm taking at the U of A. And did you know that on any Wikipedia, you can click on talk underneath the title and see all of the debates that are happening about the article? Or you can click view history on the other side of the page on the right-hand side to see every single edit ever made. This level of transparency is pretty much unheard of, I would say, in today's information ecosystem. And it makes Wikipedia not just a website, like it is a living knowledge commons, and it's so important in today's opaque media environment. So this book specifically looks at the creation of Wikimedia Canada, different partnerships across Canada with cultural institutions, the launch of Atikamek Wikipedia, which is an Indigenous-led Wikimedia page, national debates over copyright, and unsurprisingly, the growing role of AI and open science. And the book reveals how volunteers, institutions, and communities collectively shape what knowledge becomes available and what remains excluded. At a moment when information systems are increasingly centralized and automated, thank you, AI, this book asks what it means to build knowledge together in public. So, very community focused book. And those are my two books. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, well, thank you, Karen. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Lohr, the Sales and Marketing Manager at Brush Education, and we're a publisher of professional learning resources, as you'll probably be able to tell from the titles I'm presenting. But like the books Karen just presented, I think there'll definitely be enough interest among general readers in a public library setting. So, the first title I'll talk about is Understanding the Health of Populations, which starts with a simple question. Why do people get sick? And how does the way we answer that question shape the solutions we choose? So, this book is designed to help readers think clearly about that problem without overwhelming them. First of all, it excels at explaining core public health concepts in a clear manner. So the chapters are short and focused, walking readers through causes of illness and population health in a way that's logical and easy to follow. It also brings a distinctly Canadian and global perspective. The author, Dr. Stephen Hodgins, draws on decades of real-world public health work in Canada, as well as experience in Africa, South Asia, and Indigenous communities. So that breadth shows readers how theory plays out in practice across very different settings. And well, it's more of an academic resource. It's also an accessible one with broader appeal than other denser resources of this type. So it works well for both undergraduate and graduate students, and it also remains readable for informed general readers interested in public health and how public health decisions are made. So for libraries, this is a compact, high-impact title that supports coursework, research, and the lay reader's interest in public health, all in one volume. Okay, so next I have the Thoughtful Learning Advantage. This is a timely, relevant resource for students and the libraries that support them. So many students arrive at college or university having never been taught how to learn effectively. They're working hard, feeling overwhelmed, and wondering why their efforts are not paying off. This book provides them with a lifeline. It focuses on student success skills that help learners build focus, confidence, and sustainable study habits. Rather than quick fixes, it teaches students how to understand their own learning processes and take control of their academic lives. The book also offers practical, accessible strategies that support a wide range of learners, including students with ADHD, learning differences, and competing life demands. The strategies are flexible, clearly explained, and designed to be used immediately, making the book approachable for both high-achieving students and also those who might be struggling a little bit more. So it takes a wellness-centered approach as well, showing how academic success is deeply connected to mental health, balance, and self-care. Learning is treated as a whole person process, not just an academic task. So written by two Canadian counselors and learning specialists, this book is an excellent fit for public library collections, supporting students, lifelong learners, and anyone looking to learn more thoughtfully and confidently. And the last title that I'll be talking about today is Canine Human Remains Detection. And this is it would be a good addition to collections that serve readers interested in crime, forensic science, policing, and working dogs as well. And just a warning, this one probably should not go in the children's section. Yeah, it could be a little gruesome. So this book it offers authoritative human remains detection training that's grounded in evidence-based methods used by police, search and rescue, and professional canine teams. It reflects how these dogs are actually prepared for work in the field. It also brings a distinctly Canadian forensic perspective. It combines decades of frontline policing experience with leading research on human decomposition. So one of the co-authors, Dr. Sherry Forbes, she directs Canada's only human decomposition research facility, while the other co-author, Clifford Sampson, brings more than 35 years of canine training experience. So the book they've written really brings together that practice and science. So the book, lastly, it delivers real investigative insight, examining how detection dogs are deployed in complex search and recovery cases. That includes buried and rod and water searches, and it also details a number of historical investigations. So yeah, for libraries building collections in criminal justice, forensic studies, or working dogs, this would be a very relevant resource. So that's it for me. Thanks everyone for your time today, and I'll pass things off to JD at BWL.
Thanks, Tom. And I'd like to give a further shout out to BPAA here for putting this forum on. It's been great helping us to connect with libraries and book purchasers throughout the province. So thank you guys. All right, we'll go to our first title, The Witch's Prophecy. This is the first book in a young adult sci-fi fantasy series called Lynx, which follows the adventures of four teenagers as they're catapulted through time and space using their teacher's laptop as a portal. By clicking on different links, the teens are able to travel to different historical periods and uncover the truths of the past. Through each experience, they learn more about themselves and their place in the world. Each book, although part of a series, can be read as a standalone copy in which the reader can experience a journey through time. We were drawn through this series largely based on Garton and Polly's vast teaching experience and education. So we knew they'd be drawing from real experience and authenticity when they developed these characters and stories. These would make a great addition to any library for young readers. All right, next slide, please, Justin. Okay, Notorious. This is where a small city tackles big city problems, set in Moose Jaw, obviously. Murder and meth have come to Moose Jaw in the wave of a pandemic. While the police go after the killers, journalist Eleanor Bell digs into the deeper story of drugs, real estate, and money laundering on a global scale. This is a great local mystery with players on both sides of the light that we all recognize. Written by an author with 35 years of experience as a journalist who's seen it most, if not seen it all. Great storytelling, serious, all too common issues, and relatable characters to prairie life make this an impactful and nostalgic read for every Western Canadian, for sure. Next slide, please. Okay, Barkley Bear and the Forest Rangers Hockey Club. We generally don't wander into the realm of books for kids aged 7 to 12, but we made an exception here for Kevin Shea, who works for the Canadian Hockey Hall of Fame and spends a good deal of time educating touring youngsters about the finer points of the game. As someone who's played a lot of hockey, I can tell you he understands the game very well and really represents it well in this story. It's a really captivating little storyline with a great message for youngsters and adults alike. All our paperbacks retail for $18.99. It's $19.99 for Barclays. It's in color and a larger layout. And they can all be found on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And the ebooks can all be purchased on major retailers as well, or on our website for a bit of a discount at booksweelove.com. That's all I got, Justin. I'll pass it along.
Hey everyone, I'm Laureen Sheba, publisher at Durvile and UpRoute, Bright Books with Bite. These three spring titles we have today are all from Alberta authors and strong for library audiences. Next slide, please. First up is Music of the Earth's Heartbeat by Jared Tailfeathers. From the Forward by Darcy Turningrobe. Clean your heart before you sing. If you're hurting, ask the Creator to help you. This book releases in April, and it's already available to order. Here it is. Next slide, please. Building on Jared's award-winning The Art of Making, Music of the Earth's Heartbeat broadens the scope of Blackfoot cultural history from Alberta into Saskatchewan and the traditional trading territories of British Columbia. Next slide. Full-color spreads featuring maps, music, language, sacred pictograph and petroglyphs, battlegrounds, and historical sites. A fascinating section on Blackfoot language and intertribal hand sign language, which I found really interesting. Also included is Jared's art projects in music, painting, and writing. So why is this important to your library? It supports truth and reconciliation through land-based knowledge and language preservation from Treaty 7. It's visually rich, ideal for browsing, displays, and school connections. It supports curriculum areas such as social studies, art, music, and Indigenous studies. Jared is an engaging speaker who connects deeply with audiences through participation. Our launch event is March 31st at Memorial Park Library, Calgary, with music, interviews, readings, stories, and community celebrations. Come along if you can. Next slide, please. The next book is The Headache Files, True Tales and Real Relief from Dr. Werner J. Becker. An endorsement from my own GP. Wow, everyone knows this guy is the best headache neurologist. I will share this book with my colleagues and patients. There are several other that was particularly useful. This book releases in May, and it's already available to order. Here it is. Next slide, please. Dr. Werner Becker founded Calgary's Headache Assessment and Management Program at the University of Calgary. This book reflects on his decades of clinical experience, part memoir, part medical detective story. It explores migraine, which is his core specialty, hormone-related headache, cluster and thunderclap headaches, Chinook-related environmental headache, post-traumatic headache, among others. What makes it unique? The storytelling. These are human stories about listening, diagnosis, resilience, and relief. Why is this important to your library? Headache and migraine affect a significant percentage of the population. This book will circulate. It bridges evidence-based medical science and narrative nonfiction, appealing to both general readers and health information seekers. It's excellent for health literacy programming and community wellness talks. Our launch event for this book is May 14th at the Owl's Nest Bookstore in Calgary. Next slide, please. Lastly, we have Simi Street, My Homeless Indigenous Journey by Derek Starlight. Simi Street is Derek Starlight's raw account of 3 years on the streets of Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, Toronto, and Vancouver. This book releases in June. It's at the printer now in both hardcover and paperback. Next slide, please. Known for comedy, puppetry, and life on stage, Derek Starlight stepped away from performance and a hard drinking lifestyle and faced recovery and homelessness head on at the same time. What he found was what he calls a street nation, made up of Indigenous people from many nations, bound by its own rules of survival. It's tough stuff, folks. Through diary entries and stark black and white photographs, next slide, please, he brings readers into fights and survivals, addiction and detox, kinship and loss, hard. Derek is a member of the Tsuut'ina Nation with Blackfoot Confederacy ties. A Gemini award-winning voice actor and puppeteer, he writes with lived authority. Why is this important to your library? It addresses homelessness and addiction through lived experience. It supports social justice, urban studies, and Indigenous memoir collections. It will resonate with both youth and adult readers alike. It pairs powerfully with community conversations about housing and recovery. Our event is June 11th at the Central Library in Calgary. Derek is an extraordinary live performer, part truth-telling, part puppetry with music and food by Soup's Kitchen. Much of the homeless action of the book took place right there at the Central Library. At each of these events, we'll also be celebrating a fourth spring title, Blind Visionaries and AI, edited by Dagmar Jameson and Mark Raleigh. It's a powerful collection by artists and scholars living with vision loss, exploring creativity and artificial intelligence, an important addition to accessibility, technology, and disability studies collections in your libraries. Next slide, please. At Durvile.com, you'll find inside the book excerpts from all our spring titles, and we share updates on Facebook at Durvile and UpRoute, so join us. We're represented by Read & Co. in the West. You'll see Heather and Bridget at the Alberta Book Fair on February 24th and 25th at the Delta, if you're going. Thank you so much for supporting Alberta authors and Alberta stories and Alberta publishers. I'd be happy to connect about programming opportunities and book clubs. All three authors are available for signings and library programming across the province. Thank you so much. Now on to Kelsey at Freehand.
Thanks, Laurie. That was great. All right. Hello, all. It's so nice to see all of you today. I'm Kelsey, the managing editor of Freehand Books, a publisher in Calgary. We publish some of the finest contemporary literary fiction and nonfiction from Canadian authors across the country. And so I'm delighted to preview 3 of those titles here for you today. First up, I have Northern Bull by Michelle Swallow, a very funny comedic novel that just came out a couple of weeks ago here. It's something like an episode of Schitt's Creek set in the far north. It has great humor and heart, really smart and fun, feel-good novel that all takes place over the course of one freezing cold January day in Yellowknife, when our main character Jacques wakes up after a somewhat wild night and his buddy accuses him of stealing his prized moose head. Jacques has no idea what's happened to the moose head, but he better quickly figure it out with the help of his next door neighbor Maggie, who has taken the day off from work in her latest attempt to beat the winter blues. She's already tried hot yoga and broom ball, very relatable. So today she's trying to write a spicy short story to read at the community burlesque show that night. This novel is really a wild and fun ride across Yellowknife, even racing on snowmobiles. It's just so much fun. And sparks fly as well between Jacques and Maggie, so there's a bit of a romance subplot here as well. It's the debut novel from Michelle Swallow, who lives in Yellowknife. And we've just been hearing such glowing feedback from readers that it's really just a love letter to small town life in Canada's north. And so I think it's the perfect winter read to give you a little boost of life and enthusiasm and fun. Northern Bull is available now. We can go to the next slide. I'm particularly excited to tell you about a debut Alberta author. This is the first book from Dania Idris, a Lebanese Canadian writer who lives in Calgary. She studies Arab speculative fiction at the University of Calgary. And so this is her collection of stories called Tales of the Mountains and the Sea. And these are stories about young women. They're tinged with folklore and mythology and fantastical elements. And they're set at pivotal points in Lebanese history over the past about 100 years. But rather than kind of look at like the big picture historical events that are going on, Dania is interested in centering young women, showing the effects of these historical moments on the lives of women who are hugely underrepresented in traditional Lebanese history. And that's what she's doing in the background, but just in the front ground, that's not a word. These stories are just delightful, creepy, using speculative fiction, magic realism, even horror elements, lots of twists and turns, blending genres. And so she's really seeking to challenge harmful narratives about women in the Arab world, and just coming at it with such a dynamic and exciting voice. It's such an exciting book and author. So she's wonderful, and I think you're going to be hearing her name for years to come. So we're very excited to be putting out her first book. This book comes out in May. And we can go on to the final slide here. I wanted to tell you about a book of nonfiction called Minerva's Owl, Afterthoughts on Love and Loss by Carol Matthews, a book that she wrote after her husband of more than 40 years died suddenly. It's a love story and a book about moving through waves of grief. And this is actually the second edition of the book. The publisher of the original edition went out of business kind of immediately after the book was published. So it didn't have a chance at kind of a wide readership in its first life. So we're delighted to make this book available again in this new and updated and beautiful edition, all new cover. I think it's gorgeous because it's such a striking and heartbreaking and beautiful book. It really resonates with readers who are moving through deep grief and want to feel that someone understands. So it's not a book that's going to walk you step by step, in a self-help kind of way through grief, but it's a book that truly seeks to understand and empathize with the reader. Just a couple kind of reader responses from the book. Eve Joseph says that of the numerous books written about loss, Matthews has given us an original, startling, and deeply thought-provoking book, the kind that comes with the knowledge that even in the darkest places, we are not alone. And the executive director of Hospice Nanaimo said that this is the best book on grief, mourning, and loss that I have ever read. And believe me, I have read a few. And very sadly, just as we were finalizing the manuscript for this new edition, the author, Carol, died unexpectedly. Just before she died, she wrote a beautiful new epilogue for the book talking about her experience of grief more than 10 years later. So the book kind of talks about the more immediate aftermath of grief, going through the next few years, and then also kind of looking back from a period of more than a decade on. It's beautiful and poignant, and Carol's friend, BC author Maria Coffey, has also written a new foreword for the book to go along with it. So with Carol's family's wonderful support, we really want to continue to do the work that was so important to Carol in helping people as they move through grief and being with them. And so I hope that this book will be a welcome addition to some of your collections in the areas of memoir, self-help, and grief. It will be available in May. If you have any questions at all, please get in touch with me. I'll put my contact information in the chat and also some links to our latest catalogs where you can find more of Freehand's recent and upcoming books if you're so inclined. Thank you, and I'll pass it over to Meredith, I believe.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. Those are, can everyone hear me? Sorry. Perfect. My name is Meredith Thompson. I am the marketing and production coordinator from New West Press. We are a local Edmonton publisher. We focus in publishing Western Canadian authors and Western Canadian stories, publishing fiction, nonfiction, poetry, the occasional play since 1977. I have brought you one of our upcoming titles, and then I've snuck in two backlist titles, which I would love to chat with you about. So our forthcoming book is Saudade by Thomas Trofimuk. Saudade it's literary fiction, but it is more of a literary thriller. It comes out in April. It is the story of Bruce. Bruce and his wife are in France, and she's telling him a story, and he looks up from the table and she has disappeared. So it is and he has to find her. It is a story of love, of stories, of loss, of discovery, of one man's attempt to outrun death while he searches for his wife. He moves from France to Italy to the United States of America to Lake Louise. It is a mystery. It's for general trade fiction, I would say. It's for anyone looking for an exciting, unconventional, beautiful, emotional. It is quite emotional, I will say that, but I also cry easily at books. And it's from the award-winning author Thomas Trofimuk, who lives and works in Edmonton, Alberta. This is his sixth novel, and we are absolutely thrilled to be partnering with him on this. Next slide, please. Lovely, Jasmine. So the next book I would love to talk about is Laser Quit Smoking Massage, which is by Cole Nowicki, and we brought it in April of 2024. It is a collection of essays from the point of view of growing up in a small Alberta town, specifically Lac La Biche, moving to larger cities, and the particularities of the Canadian West. I feel like it's a very good example of the nonfiction that New West tries to put forth, again, particularities and peculiarities of the Canadian West. It was also a general trade fiction. I would say if we're talking in generations, it's like very millennial coded. Cole is definitely a millennial, but also speaks in that sort of slightly sarcastic, but funny. He is very funny tone in short, digestible essays, which are a little bit philosophical, a little bit humor based. He loves skateboarding. He has another book out about skateboarding, so that ties into it as well. He is originally from Lac La Biche, but he now lives and works in Vancouver, where he's also a film producer, which is just a fun fact. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. And the last book I would love to talk with you about is, see, I've snuck in an entire trilogy here. So it's Where We Live by Karen Hoffman. This is probably our favorite series of literary fiction series. I don't know if you're allowed to say you have favorites. Now I'm overthinking it. This is a favorite series that New West has. It's the story of the Lund siblings. They're separated when their father passes away, and they all enter various phases of the foster care system. There's one child is adopted, one is almost of age and goes into like a shared home situation. There's a couple kids in foster care, and it's about them reuniting as adults. It is a beautiful story. It's over 3 books, and it's about socioeconomic issues living in an expensive city like Vancouver. But it's about family, it's about parenting, it's about identity. And Karen is just such a good writer. It's such a special series, and it's definitely my go-to book club pick. We were all quite sad when this series ended, so I wanted to highlight it one more time. So yes, we have more spring books coming. I will put a link, just as Kelsey did. That's a great idea, Kelsey. I'll put a link in the chat for how you can get in touch with me and also see more of our spring books. And I would love to answer any questions that you may have about anything. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it off to Alicia from U of A.
Hi there. My name is Sylvia. I'm representing University of Alberta Press. You can go to the next slide, please. The scholarly press with a strong trade list. All of the books on our list are suited for young adult to adult readers. I'd say they're approachable for ages 16 and up, so please consider that age range for all of our books. The first book on our list is Our Rights and Freedoms by Aaron Hughes. This book falls into the categories of pop history and Canadian history. It's an excellent source of information, but doesn't read like a reference book. Hughes weaves the story of the Charter's creation with its interpretation and its application, including the use of the notwithstanding clause on teachers in Ontario in 2022. To start, we're told about the husband of one of the leaders of the COVID-19 trucker convoy who confused the Canadian Charter with the American Bill of Rights. He erroneously told the judge at his wife's bail hearing that his wife's First Amendment rights had been violated. And Hughes meets this anecdote with the gravity that it deserves, saying, if we do not understand what the Charter is, and if we fail to grasp what is in it and what isn't, we have a real problem on our hands. When citizens do not understand the supreme law of their land, going so far as to confuse it with the rights of another country entirely, surely the civic health of the nation is at risk. We've had some fantastic advanced praise from Michael Ignatieff, former leader of the official opposition, who said, an approachable, readable, yet reliable book about Canada's charter is overdue, but here it is. Aaron Hughes has rescued this vital document from the lawyers and the politicians so that citizens can understand what rights they have and use the charter to defend their freedoms. The book will be out in April, so lots of time before Canada Day. It's priced at $24.99, so it's nice and affordable, and at 240 pages, it's a really quick read. Our next book is from David A. Robertson. David A. Robertson is a two-time Governor General Literary Award winner. He's won the TD Canada Children's Lit Award and the Writers Union of Canada Freedom to Read Award. So this is part of our Kreisel lecture series where we publish a lecture delivered here at the U of A. Robertson's lecture is centered, as you may guess from his awards, on the themes of book bans and young adult educational materials. He emphasizes the decolonial work of Indigenous storytelling and specifically the vital and ongoing role of young people in the generational work of reconciliation. This book came out early, so it is actually available now for $14.99. At 56 pages, it is very easy to finish in advance of the next Kreisel lecture, which is on February 27th, I believe. And the last book on our list is Giselle Villeneuve's Toast for Two Tongues. This is a short fiction collection that explores Francophone interiority in Western Canada, thinking, speaking, tasting in two tongues. Giselle writes the longing for belonging that is so familiar to French Canadians who are somehow both in their home country, but not at all when they're in Western Canada. Her characters are deeply pitiable. We love some of them and we root for them, and yet they're flawed and human and spread thin and at risk of disappearing into the prairie wheat like butter melting on toast. This collection will be out in June for $22.99. It's 136 pages, so another short one. It might not be a beach read, but it's definitely a great, cozy, moody read if you're locked inside during a summer rainstorm. All of our titles are available both in print and accessible e-formats. For more information, you can go to ualbertapress.ca. You can contact myself or Kathy Crooks. Mention that you attended this session. We'd love to talk with you about how to get these books into your hands and the hands of your patrons. And with that, I will pass it off to University of Calgary Press. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes. My name is Alison Cobra. I'm from the University of Calgary Press, based, surprise, in Calgary. And I'm going to be talking to you about two literary and one nonfiction book today. Starting with We Survived Until We Could Live. This is poetry that explores the aftermath of the Biafran War through a close examination of a single family. There is a father, a mother, and a son. Uche Umezurke, the author, looks at the interrelationships between each member of this family, the way that they experience the war, and the way that they take that experience out on each other and help each other through that experience. It's a frank discussion of trauma and of struggle, of domestic violence, of post-traumatic stress disorder, of intergenerational trauma, of the ways that we inflict pain on each other and the ways that we struggle to survive. It's a sweeping literary story. It is poetry, but it has the feeling of a work of literary fiction. It is fiction. Uche has dedicated the book to the people he grew up with and around who were survivors of the Biafran War, and brings a lot of his personal experience to this book. It is a reflection of real life experiences. It is dedicated to these people. It's trying to express this incredibly complicated experience and this incredibly complicated set of memories. So it's rooted in reality, but is fiction. We're really excited about this one. It's very, very readable. It's very, very powerful. It is a smaller book that has, again, the punch of an epic novel. Uche is an assistant professor here at the University of Calgary in the Department of English. This is, I believe, his third or fourth book of poetry. He is also the author of a book for young readers and of an academic book that examines masculinity in Nigerian fiction. Uche's area of study is about masculinity in fiction, and he brings that approach to this book as well, really examining how masculinity can be healing or it can be maladaptive, and things like raising sons to expect how do you raise sons well? What do you raise them to expect, and how can you raise them to be good men? He is a powerful and accomplished speaker. He lectures here. He's also participating in a number of events around town and would be a fantastic pick for panels, for discussions of the power of literature, of masculinity, of writing technique, and more. Then we have the next book for you. Beneficiary. This is a novel. This follows Saren from the time that she says no to her family, no to her boyfriend, bucks the expectations of her well-off and incredibly boring, staid, unrestrictive family in the 1960s through to the present day. Saren runs away from home, leaves, and doesn't really talk to her family, participates in the heady countercultural politics of the 60s and 70s, makes an ill-advised marriage to a passionate Irishman, has kids, gets divorced, evolves evolves into motherhood, evolves into a different type of person, and then discovers that she has been left a heck of a lot of money, a life-changing amount of money, something that completely changes the world for her and for her children. So this is a book that is both the story of one woman's life, but also a really frank and candid discussion of class, money, wealth, motherhood, how money intersects with every aspect of our lives, how we create our self-image, how we are threatened, how our self-image is threatened, how we can look at ourselves in the mirror if we are the haves when we live in a world of have-nots, how we can live truly in the world. It's a surprisingly complicated novel for what it is. It also touches on the evolving feminism of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and today, how our personal politics evolve, how wealth intersects with politics, and how something that might seem like a really easy choice when you're 19 becomes a much more difficult choice when you're 35 and have two kids. Joanne is a Calgary author. Her name might be familiar to some of you. She's deeply involved in the Alberta literary community as an owner of Shelf Life and a founding board member of Freehand. This is a powerful novel that will resonate with anyone who struggled to keep a true vision of who they are and live true to that vision. And then last for you today, I have Troubled Tributaries. Alberta anglers, fish fights, and the race to save mountain coldwater streams, 1900 to 1930. This is written by George Colpitts, who is an author here at the university, or a historian here at the University of Calgary. And this is the story of the first big fight to save Alberta rivers and Alberta fish. After the First World War, Alberta anglers were out hip deep in the streams and realized that Alberta rivers and streams and fish were in crisis. Coal mining, clear cutting, agriculture, increasing tourism, the ability for more people to come to the rivers and fish. We're causing fish stocks to plummet. We're causing the watershed to sicken. We're causing the rivers to sicken. Instead of give up, instead of say, hey, I guess this is just the consequence of industry, these anglers came together across the province in sport groups, community groups, angling clubs, and together through grassroots advocacy, saved the mountain cold water streams. While they were doing this, they also fought like cats and dogs. Nobody could agree on what exactly the right path to save Alberta's fish and Alberta's fish environments were. So, this is also the story of a bunch of incredibly passionate and devout people fighting with each other. The fights that they were having with each other are fights that we're still having within conservation, within angling today. Do you stock lakes? Do you do your best to preserve native fish? Do you allow food fishing? Do you ban all food fishing? Do you only allow food fishing? So these are discussions that were being had in the 1910s, 12s, 20s, 30s that we're still having in the 2010s, 12s, 20s. George Colpitts has done a huge amount of research for this book. He has done both archival research, gone to the newspapers, and I think most interestingly, gone to these angling clubs and visited with the people who are running them today to talk about where they came from, look into their maybe club archives, and examine the way that fishing and angling has woven through Alberta life for over 100 years. One of the
Excuse me,
interesting things.
Allison, you've run over time.
Okay, well,
Can you
great.
wrap it up?
That's it for us then.
Right.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Justin Pitt, project coordinator with the BPAA. First, thank you to all the publishers who shared their titles today. If you do have any questions for one or all of them, please enter them in the chat, which we will get to shortly. And we just wanted to take a minute to talk to you about where you can find additional information about our publishers and discover their books. I have two programs highlighted on this slide. Just curious if any of you have heard of these projects, can you click a reaction, respond in the chat to let us know? I'd like to kind of get a gauge. Both of these resources on this slide are available through the BPA for free. The Read Alberta ebook collection is a collection of over 2,800 ebooks and audiobooks, and they're available to anyone with an Alberta library card. There's unlimited simultaneous borrows, so this is a great resource if you're looking to facilitate a book club or an event where multiple readers need the same book at the same time. Many of the titles you've seen presented today will be available through this collection once they are published. Alberta Books for Schools is a collection of curriculum mapped books that is a searchable online database. You can search through a number of different criteria, including curriculum connections, genres, grade levels, and more. You can easily scan the QR codes there to access either of those collections if you're interested in learning more. I will pass it over to my colleague Jackie now to talk about an additional way to stay connected with the publishers of Alberta.
Thanks, Justin. Second. Okay. Well, thank you, Justin. So, if you're still craving more Alberta published books and content, the Book Publishers Association of Alberta has a great resource for you, the Read Alberta website. The books featured on this website are all published right here in Alberta. This is a place to find monthly themed book lists, new releases, bestsellers, and even the most borrowed Alberta published library titles. It can be a great tool for reference services, book displays, programming, and more. We also have monthly articles, including ones that specifically focus on libraries and are actually written by a librarian. These range in topics including what it takes to become a librarian, to library date nights, ideas, and even how to join a library board. The Read Alberta website makes Alberta publishing fun and approachable, and we think it's a great tool for patrons and library staff alike. I will link the website in the chat, and I will also include the Read Alberta website email address. If you ever have any questions or ideas to share, please reach out. Thanks, everyone, and I'll turn it back to Megan.
Thanks, Jackie. And thanks, Justin, and all the publishers for your presentations. I had to have another screen open so that I could make a list of all the books that I need to add to my reading list over the next few months. So we have some time for questions now. So feel free to add to the chat or raise your hand if you have a question, and we can go from there. And feel free to turn your camera on too, while we have this chat. I can get us started with a question. So I liked how Meredith pointed out a book that would be a good book club pick. So I'm wondering if some of the other publishers here, you could kind of just jump in and share one of the books that you would recommend for a book club. If applicable, I think some of Brush's titles might not be the best book club pick.
I'll say that Northern Bull, my first title I talked about, would be a very good book club pick. Very fun. Yeah.
Thanks, Kelsey.
We
I would say that,
actually,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no problem. Our notorious title, we actually submitted it to some people from the Salvation Army was it Salvation Army? Yeah, in who are working in Northern Alberta, who are looking for something for their book club, because there's a lot of elements of um, time volunteering and outreach programs and stuff like that in the book. So if that's your sort of thing, then yeah, it's a great pick.
Yeah, nice connection.
I'd like to suggest Simi Street because, yeah, I highlighted the trauma of being on the street, but there's a lot of love there. And there's a lot of actually, sort of funny things that happen and interactions. And Derek himself is really quite a hoot. I don't know if you saw, but he was on the news last night because he happened to be in a place where the shooting was going on. He came through Calgary, lives in Toronto now, but he came through Calgary to do a show on the way from Yukon, and there he was on Global News because he was in the parking lot with the shooting. But anyway, I would recommend this as being a really good book club title. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorraine. Any other book club picks? I guess another question as we're waiting. If you have a question, feel free to interrupt me or put it in the chat. Another thing that I thought of was, are any of your authors available for events at libraries? Maybe just a nod, a show of hands. Yes, we are very excited about something like that. Perfect. And then the best way to reach out to authors would be probably just through the publishers. So any of the emails or all of the emails are in the chat. And following this event, I think Jackie's also planning on sending the contact information by email as well. So you won't lose it. Okay, I'm going to do one last call for questions. If any publishers have a question for another publisher, that is also welcome. Okay, well, I think that brings us to the end of our presentation today. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you discovered a new book that you'll either add to your own reading shelf or you might buy for your library. So just a reminder that these book blast sessions are sort of biannual events, so we'll have another one to coincide with sort of the summer fall launch of books. And you'll be prompted after exiting this meeting to take a short survey. We really appreciate any feedback or suggestions that you want to share with us. And then, as I mentioned, Jackie will be resending the link to the Catalyst catalog, as well as the contact information. And yeah, just thank you so much for joining us and have a great rest of your day.